Well, not only snakes are venomous, and not all venoms are benign. Some of them are deadly to others and not deadly to, yet again, other people. These are true tales of my African adventures. May this inspire you, deter you, caution you, and above all, entertain you. This is a very interesting phenomenon. Now, in other words, bees, if you're allergic to bees, you can succumb to a bee sting. And if you're allergic to wasps, you can succumb to a wasp sting. And so it goes. But as you know, there are many venomous creatures. Small species of octopus in Australia, the box jellyfish, a huge number of flying insects are venomous, scorpions, and so on. So I developed an allergy to wasps, which almost killed me. So how this all started, because I spoke with the doctors and know a little bit about venoms, and they said I'd become sensitized to wasp venom, probably having been stung by them a number of times in my younger days. So on the day that I almost died from a wasp sting, I'll tell you about that in a minute, it was many years since I'd last been stung. I think what led up initially to me becoming sensitized to the wasp stings was an event which happened in the far northwestern Transvaal in the days of my military. And it's not called a northwestern Transvaal today, but that's what it was then. And what happened is we had some time off and we were patrolling the roads on a cloudy day in the afternoon, which is a good time to find cobras, mambas, etc. crossing the road. So off we went. Snake grab sticks, bags, tins, and we would drive at a reasonable speed, not too fast, and our eyes were so good, our sight was so good that we could spot these things from a great distance. And then of course the car would come to a halt, all would pile out as if there was some sort of emergency, and we would run after the snake and usually bag it somewhere in the bush on the side of the road. So there we were traveling down the road, and what happened? A cobra crossed the road. Couldn't quite see whether it was a snouted cobra or a spitting cobra. As we got closer, I could see it was a spitting cobra, and it was a pretty big one. And I thought, yeah, that will do good for us. So I leapt out of the car and ran, and the snake, seeing me coming towards it, moved at speed off the road, down and into a culvert. Now the culverts under the roads there are quite large because of the big rainstorms, and it went down through some thick weeds and brush and disappeared into the culvert. Normally you can walk into these culverts, and then I could just go and bag it, because I knew it would stay in the culvert where it was fairly dark, and it would feel safe there. So I walked slowly up to the culvert entrance, and there were kakibos, a huge weed which grows prolifically in South Africa, and they were about as tall as my own head and thick and in front of the culvert. So I grabbed them and pushed them aside, at the same time just about dislodging and knocking off about 3 or 4 wasp, or rather hornets. Actually no, these were wasps, nests. You probably know these. I don't know if there may be some people who don't know them. It looks like they're made out of a sort of a waxy paper, and they're huge round shaped nests attached by a single stem in the center to the top of the concrete of the culvert, and they would spread out like an upside down mushroom, and underneath there were hundreds and hundreds of capsules into which an egg is laid and a new wasp develops. And they wasps sit on this upside down mushroom en masse. And they're always menacing with their wings buzzing and going, and they're always skittish, and they're very aggressive. When I knocked some of them off and bumped the others, something like 50 to 100 wasps suddenly came at me like a cloud. And I had never seen such an uninviting sight in my entire life. So I took off, but you cannot run faster than a wasp. And I had no shirt on, which is what you do in the bush when you're young. You don't wear a shirt because you're getting suntanned and having fun. And as I ran towards the vehicle, those in the car not knowing what was going on, the wasps descended on me and started stinging my back. And I received hundreds of stings. I shouted ahead that they should get in the car because I was being chased by wasps, so they kind of casually got in. When I got to the vehicle, I leapt in and leaned forward and sat there in pain, absolute pain, and they could not believe it. My whole back was bleeding. There was blood running down my back and soaking the top rim of my trousers. Jeans I was wearing at the time. A lot of blood after so many stings, and I was swollen and in terrible pain, and there was nothing we could do because we carried nothing to counter a wasp sting and nothing for the pain because we're young, and when you're young, who cares about pain until you've got it? And there I was with this enormous dilemma. And I had to sit it out because I couldn't move. The pain was just too intense. But after an hour or so, it began to subside just a little. And I was eventually able to reach a town and get some help. And my back was soothed for a while after that. And then came the real thing. 30 years later, I got stung by a wasp in my bedroom. In the middle of the night, it happened to fall on me from, I think, the curtains, and when I moved, it stung me. And that saw me have a reaction which caused me to become unconscious, and I needed adrenaline to resuscitate me, and it was the most terrible event. So, yeah, there we go. Lots of things are poisonous, and I tell you now, wasps are one of them.